Today, Professor Dr. Manoj Kumar give lecture on the topic of the human-wildlife conflict in the Indian context. This is very important topic in the environmental study. We are studying the environmental studies, and this topic, human-wildlife conflict, is taking place in many places of the Assam, West Bengal, Odisha, Jammu Kashmir region of the India. Then we will study here what are the causes are there, what are the effects are there, and what are the solutions for this. We have to save the ecosystem of the India, and what are the solutions for that. We are seeing in the picture, there is the human-wildlife conflict as taking place. Human-elephant context, human-tiger context, human-leopard context. These conflicts are taking place. So all students must hear this lecture patiently. This will be very fruitful. Today we will discuss about the introduction, deforestation. Deforestation is the main cause of the main animal conflict. How the deforestation in India is taking place and how the main animal conflict is taking place. Reasons for the human and animal conflict. What are the various regions? The main entered in the animal regions that taking place in India. Main animal conflict in India, main leopard conflict in India, main elephant conflict in India, main tiger conflict in India. And so what are the solutions to the problems? Due to this conflict, what solutions to this problem? And the conclusion. Our objective of this lecture or study will be deforestation and the main animal conflict. How deforestation results into the main animal conflict. Deforestation is adopted throughout the India, and this is the reason for the main animal conflict. Spatial dimension of the main animal conflict. Possible ways to reduce the main animal conflict. What are the possible ways how we can reduce the main animal conflict in India? Main animals responsible for the main animal conflict are the leopard, elephant, tiger. So these issues we will discuss in this lecture. Deforestation is the conservation of forest to an alternative permanent non-forested load such as agriculture, grazing, or urban development. Deforestation is taking place in India for to use the forest as agriculture, grazing purpose for the animal, and for urban development. Deforestation is taking place in India. Deforestation is primarily concerned for the developing countries of the tropics, not in the developed country. Developed countries, is not related with them. This is related with the developing countries like India. And in this area, the tropical forests are shrinking and causing losses of the biodiversity in the developing country and enhancing the greenhouse gas effect. This is the major reason, deforestation in the developing country. The data showing like that on an average of the 30 million hectares were deforested globally each year between 2000 and the 2010. This is the 30 million hectare on the worldwide, globally, deforested between this year. Hence, the deforestation is taking place worldwide, global. The human-wildlife conflict refers to the interaction between the wild animals and the people and the resultant negative impact on the people and their resources, or wild animals or their habitats. These conflict refers to the interaction between the animal and people and the negative impact on the people, on the animals also. Human-wildlife conflict occurs when wildlife requirements overlap and those of the human population, creating cost both the resident and the wild animals. This is the reason. Man-animal conflict has been in existence for as long as human has existed, and wild elements and people have shared same landscape and the resources. For a long time, the man-animal conflict have been taking place in India, and proper precautions and the solution has to be made by the government for the man-human conflict. These are the reasons for the human-animal conflict. The human-animal conflict is a serious problem. Current trends show that we have human beings are being insensitive to the value of the wildlife and to the importance of the living in the harmony with the nature. Typically, the human-animal conflict can be classified into the 4 types. These are the reasons. Competition for the space between the animal and the man. Crop raiding and destruction. Attacking the livestock, injury or death of the humans. These are the typically 4 types of the human-animal conflict in India. Competition for the space, crop raiding and destruction, attacking the livestock, or injury or death of the humans. These are the 4 types of the human-animal conflict. At first, we go for the man-leopard conflict. Leopard attacks on the human are regularly reported only in India. The Panthera pardus or the leopards kill more humans in India than all over the carnivores. Human-leopard conflict regions of the country are West Bengal, Maharashtra, Assam, where most of the deadly leopard attack incident happened. In the case of the West Bengal, in the case of the Maharashtra, and in the case of the Assam, the man-leopard conflicts occur. The Corbett National Park of the Uttarakhand is famous for notable man-eater leopard. Corbett National Park, responsible for at least 400 attacks on the humans on the Uttarakhand. These are the man-leopard conflicts in India. During this year, there were about 235 deaths and 650 injuries due to these conflicts. You can see that the major conflicts are taking place. The injured persons were mainly from the different areas of the Kashmir, which is the close vicinity of the protected area and the forest, and people of such conflict-prone area of the Kupwara, Lope, Handwara, Baramula, Tamrang, Soping, and the Gandarwa. These are the area where the leopard conflict are taking place in the Jammu Kashmir. Kupwara, Loep, Handwara, Baramula, Tamang, Sopin, Gandwala, Anantnag, and Srinagar. These are the places where the crops are lost and the livestock are lost, property are lost, and sometimes their lives are lost in these areas. In the figure, the leopard-man conflict are shown in the figure. See the figure, a very beautiful figure of the man-leopard conflict, how the leopard is attacking the human. These are taking place in the West Bengal, Assam, Jammu Kashmir. And forest person have to do something for that. The figure shows the man-leopard conflict. Another watch, man-elephant conflict. In India, the documented loss of the human life due to elephant attacks average over 400 people annually. The people who come to these injuries are those who belong to the weaker socioeconomic strata of the society. The statistics reveal that the scale of the casualty in the clash between the elephants and human continues to be high in the state of the Odisha. In Odisha, man-elephant conflict is more. In Jharkhand also there, man-elephant conflicts are more. The number of the elephant casualty in the state in the past 5 years is 393, while 300 people died in the jumbo attacks during the period. While the poachers were responsible for a majority of the elephant killing. Man-elephant conflict is there. This showing the data. Between 2006 and 2016, elephants have killed 785 people in the state of the Assam, while the 220 panchayat fell victim to the poaching, speeding the trains, poisoning, electrocution between this year. These are taking place in India. Elephant is one of the holy animals in the Kerala, but due to elephant attack, some 500 people were killed each year in Kerala. 500 people are killed each year. This is the enormous data, the man-elephant conflict in India. There are many incidents of the elephant attacks occurred in the villages of the Kerala and other parts of the India. These are taking place in India. Elephant habitat located at the northern West Bengal in India is part of the eastern Himalaya, which is characterized by high degree of the fragmentation. The heavy fragmentation of this habitat has resulted into the intense human elephant conflict, causing not only loss of the agriculture crops, but also the human and the elephant lives. Mortality of the about 50 persons and the 20 elephant was reported due to this severe human elephant conflict from this sport area annually. In the West Bengal, the human elephant conflict is shown in the figure. How the elephants are attacking, and the human elephant conflict is shown here in the figure, how these are taking place in India. The elephants are aggressive and they are destroying and harming the people, killing the people. Then come to the man-tiger conflicts. The largest swamp and mangrove forest to India is also home to over 500 Bengal tigers who killed from the 50 to 250 people per year in India and the Bangladesh. Man-tiger conflict. Tiger attacks in the Sundarbans is the best example of the human interaction and conflict between the local people and the wild animals. The man-eating tigers of the Sundarbans and the human-wild conflict rate has dropped significantly due to better management techniques. Man-tiger conflict. Tiger attacks in the Sundarban is the best example. Sundarban in the West Bengal. This shows the picture of the man-tiger conflict, how the tiger is attacking the people and giving the death. You are seeing here. This conflict is taking place. Man-animal conflict is there. Human-animal conflict refers to the negative interaction between the human and the wildlife that resulted in the losses in terms of the life, property, and resources. Human-wildlife conflict is a negative interaction between the humans and the wildlife that can have negative consequences, both people and the wildlife. Human-wildlife conflict include wildlife damaging property, wildlife attacking livestock, wildlife raiding crops, people being injured, loss of the livelihoods, and excavation of the poverty. And these are the taking place. Wildlife damaging the property, wildlife attacking the livestock, wildlife raiding the crop, people being injured, loss of the livelihood, excursion of the poverty. These include there human-wildlife conflict. The factors leading of the human-wildlife conflict are the results of the human combing the proximity to the natural habitats of the wildlife. With a rapidly increasing the human population and the high biodiversity, interaction between the people and the wild animals are becoming more and more prevalent. Habitat disturbance is the destruction of the home of the wild animal. Humans kill or chase wild animals by digging, cutting, sealing by the stones, and smoking in their natural habitat. Other factors include large-scale habitat destruction through the deforestation, overgrazing by the livestock, and expansion of the human settlement and agriculture. These are the factors. Increasing of the human population is the major factor for the main wildlife conflict. Habitat disturbance is the destruction of the home of the wild animal. If you destruct the home of the wild animal, then the wild animal will attack on the human. If you attack on the wild animal, then will attack on the human. And the other factors into large-scale habitat destruction through the deforestation. This is due to the deforestation, overgrazing by the livestock, and expansion of the human settlement and agriculture. These are the key causes. We have shown you the man-elephant conflict, man-tiger conflict, man-elephant, man-leopard conflict. These are the causes of the main wildlife conflict. Agriculture expansion. As human population grow, there is an increasing demand for the agricultural land, leading to the encroachment into the wildlife habitat. Agriculture expansion is taking place. Human settlement. The expansion of the human settlement into the wildlife territory often leads to the increased contact and the conflict with the wildlife. Human settlement. The expansion of the human settlement is taking place. Organizing by the livestock. Organizing by the domestic livestock can lead to the habitat degradation, forcing wildlife to venture into the human settlement into the search of the food. Deforestation. Deforestation for timber, agriculture, and the other human activity leads to the loss of the natural habitats, driving wildlife into the human-dominated landscapes. Illegal activity. Poaching of the wildlife. The poaching of the wildlife is done for many of the regions. Unregulated collection of the forest product often lead to the direct conflict with the wildlife. These are the illegal activity. Killing of the animals for their value. They are the illegal activities are there. Other region, lack of the protective area. In India, 30%, 35% of the tiger ranges are currently in the area that are not protected. Tiger area are must to be protected. Marine protected zones only comprise 9.6% of the globe. Nearly 40% of the African lion range is out of the protected zones. And when it comes to the range of the African and Asian elephant outside protected zones, the number is the 70%. Wildlife-borne infection. Genetic disease is caused by the proximity association of the individual, their livestock, and the unregulated consumption of the wild animals are there. These are the causes of the wildlife conflict. Impacts of the human-wildlife conflict. Impacts on the wildlife and the ecosystem. Human-wildlife can cause permanent and adverse effect in the biodiversity and the ecosystem. Human might kill animal in the self-defense for prevent relational killing. This can cause species to be driven from the conflict to the extinction. The impact on the local community. The most evident and immediate adverse effect on the people living near the wildlife are injury and loss of the life. and livestock crops and other property. Impact on equity. The physical and economical burdens of living in the presence of the wildlife affect those who live near the species. In contrast, a species survival benefits the share with the different community. These are the effects of the wildlife conflict. It impacts on the ecosystem. Saving of the ecosystem is necessary. Impact of the local community who is living near the forest. Impact on the equity. Living in the presence of the wildlife affect those who live near the species. Survival benefits are there. The government has initiated a number of the steps in this regard, including the following: providing assistance to the state governments for the improvement of the habitat to augment food and water ability and to reduce the movement of the animals from the forest to the habitats, encouraging state government for creation of the network of the protected area and wildlife corridors for the conservation of the wildlife. Awareness program to sensitize the people about the do's and don't, minimize the conflict. Indian government has started many of the program. State government have started the many of the program. They have must create the protected area and wildlife corridors for the conservation of the wildlife. Reduce the movement of the animals from the forest to the habitation. These are the steps taken by the government. Training program for the forest staff. Forest staffs must be trained, and a problem of the human-wildlife conflict. Issuance of the guidance to the state government for the management of the human-leopard conflict. Providing technical and financial support for the development of the necessary infrastructure and the support facility for the immobilization of the problematic animal through the tranquilization. Their translocation to the rescue center or release back to the natural habitat. Providing assistance to the state governments for the construction of the boundary walls and solar fences around the sensitive area to prevent the wild animal attacks. Providing the technical and financial support for development of the necessary infrastructure and support facility of problematic animals. These are the steps taken by the government. Resources for payment of the ex gratia to the people for injury and loss of life in case of the wild animal attack. Government has to provide. Empowering the chief wild warden for the state territory for the permitting hunting of the such problematic animals under the previous of the Wildlife Protection Act 1917. There must be the some protection is there for permitting hunting of the wildlife animal. Providing assistance to the state government for eco development activity in the village around protected area to elicit cooperation of the local community in management of the protected area. Government measures to tackle the human-animal conflict. the Wildlife Protection Act 1972 is made by the government in the 1972 to Wildlife Protection Act. The act provides legal framework for the activity, provision of the hunting, protection and management of the wildlife habitat, and establishment of the protected area. This act is made by the government in the parliament. The Biological Diversity Act. India is part of the United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity. It ensures that the Biological Diversity Act complements rather than contradicts existing law concerning the forest and the wildlife. National Wildlife Action Plan. It focuses on strengthening and enhancing the protected area network, on the conservation of endangered wildlife and their habitat, on controlling trade in the wildlife products, and on research, education, and training. National Wildlife Action Plan. Project Tigers. Project Tiger is centrally sponsored scheme launched in the 1973. It provides havens for the tigers in the country's national park. Project Elephant. It is centrally sponsored scheme and was launched in the February 1992 for the protection of their elephant, their habitat, and the corridor. National Disaster Management Authority. It lays down a guidelines to be followed by the different ministry or the department of the central government for the purpose of integrating measures for the disaster prevention or the mitigation of its effect in their development plan and the project. These are the useful projects. Project Tiger, Project Elephant. It is launched in the 1973. It is launched in the 1992 for the protection of the elephant. The summary of the main wildlife conflict is shown here. Here it is shown the figures of the main wildlife conflict. Causes of the human-wildlife conflict are summarized here. Agriculture expansion, urbanization. The men are doing the agriculture expansion in the forest area. Man is doing urbanization in the forest area. Infrastructure development in the forest area. Climate change is there. Wildlife population growth and range expansion is there. These are the causes of the human-wildlife conflict. Impacts of the human-wildlife conflict: grave injuries, losses of the life, damage to farms and the crop, and violence against animals. In 2020, the Supreme Court upheld Madras decision for the Nilgiri Film Corridor, affirming the passage of the exposure of the report of their data on the human-wildlife conflict. Tigers killed 125 humans between this year. Death of the 329 tigers due to the poaching, natural and the unnatural causes are there. Elephants killed 1579 humans in the 3 years. Death of the 307 elements due to the poaching, electrocution and poisoning and the train accident. Advisory for the human-wildlife conflict. Gram Panchayat empowered to deal with the problematic wild animals. These are there. Compensation about the crop damage due to the human-wildlife conflict. Local state department to adopt early warning system and create the barriers. Paying a part of the ex gratia inter relief between the 24 hours of the incident of the victim. In Uttar Pradesh, main wildlife conflict under the listed disaster. Uttarakhand, biofencing is carried out by the government, various species on plants in area. In Odisha, casting seed beds inside the different forests to enrich the food stock for the wildlife in men. So, human-wildlife conflict is important topic in the environmental study. Here, we are studying about what are the government measures, what are the impacts, what are the causes, what are the factors, man-tiger conflicts, man-elephant conflicts, man-leopard conflicts, and region for the human-wildlife conflict. These are the issues discussed in this lecture. This lecture will be very fruitful for the students of the environmental study.